Amazing, amazing. So, balancing creativity and business can be challenging. We are filled with so much creativity, but yet, when people think of the creatives, they think of them as the poorer people, in comparison to oil. So, how do we balance creativity and business? And from your experience with working with creatives and, managing the business of photography, what do you think the gap is between creativity and profit making?
So I think the biggest gap we've been able to identify and we're dealing with as well is creatives making the mistake of thinking their creativity or their art is the most important thing in setting up a business. Now, the art is very, very important, but the business is more important. No matter how creative you are, the day you get hungry is the day you start questioning the relevance of your creativity. That's it. So a lot of times we think the creative industry has to do with the business, but it's a typical lie. All businesses are the same. All business structures are literally the same across board. The only thing different is what they offer, the service. So first you need to see yourself as someone providing a service, not someone who is more intelligent than every other person. And I think that's where we get it wrong. I've had situations where I've spoken to creatives and they say, man, they can't work with this client because the client does not see their vision. When I'm like, your vision is your vision. The client's vision is their vision. If your vision is more important, then go and start eating your vision. The key thing is the client has a vision. They want you to interpret that vision, but then you need to carry them along as well. And then they're seeing the financial part of that vision. You're seeing the creative part of the vision, and that why they've come to you is they know you have a creative understanding of bringing that vision to life. How then do you exclude them in your so-called advanced creativity? And I think for me, that's one very important thing we need to understand as creatives. The client that is coming to you is coming for a service. Don't ever think you're the most... you can be the most creative person, or if you're not marketable, that's it. You go in your house and then you create whatever. The client is very, very important. The business is very, very important. How do you set up your system to ensure that you don't put business on the backside? So people get it wrong sometimes as a creative. They want to do everything. You can't even do everything. No one person becomes an organization. You will always be an individual. So for you to become big enough to scale, after you've dealt with your creativity, start thinking, how do I expand? How do I bring people? Teamwork is key. And you don't have to do everything. You don't have to be the CEO, Chief Everything Officer. You can be the CEO that just, works on the ideas and be the entrepreneur. But then loads of people who can do other things that you need to do within your business. Why don't you bring them in? So I think for me, the biggest gap is creative thinking. They can do everything. Creative taking away business from art. Creative thinking, the most important thing when they're setting up their brand is the art and not the business. Thank you.
Thank you. That was so good. Thank you so much. So I'll just go to Bobby. So, speaking of the same thing about creativity and business, how have you been able to balance? You said that you've always been a creative person. So was there any time you had to sort of do a shift and say, you know what, beyond my creativity, this is a business? Do you want to share with us?
Yeah, okay. So when I mentioned I studied interior design and I came back to Nigeria, and I was selected there was a program being run by the British Council and the Lagos Business School, and they selected 100 creatives in sub-Saharan Africa, and they took us through a program called the Creative Enterprise, and it was at the Lagos Business School, and they took us through like a rigorous process on creativity and business and how you can, start a business in creativity. And one of the first things that they mentioned was talent is not enough. Just like how he said, you could be very talented, extremely talented, but, your business, skills are like really low. So I believe that, you don't necessarily have to know all the, all the business knowledge and all that, but I believe that there are certain things that you can actually learn in terms of business. Starting a business, starting a brand, registering your business, and all those kind of things. But yeah, what I learned was was talent is not enough. No matter how talented you are, you need to turn that into a business. You need to make money from it. And the other thing I learned is if you're starting a creative business and all you're trying to do is make money from it, then you're not going to go really far. Your creativity must be like your purpose as well. You must be solving a problem. You must be doing something different, trying to, if it's like sustainability, if it's like community, something has to be different about what you're doing. So you're not just being creative just to make money. You must have a sort of purpose, and that will take you really far. You must have a vision, and then that's where you're going. That's where you're heading to. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's.
Thank you. So purpose, and then you can't do everything yourself. I read what Mr. Kola said, that one person is not an organization. So moving on, Deji, we're still talking about creativity and business, but I want us to make it a bit more personal. So have you had any time where there was a conflict between, pursuing your creative vision and being a creative and making profit? And, how did you handle that? So maybe a time when you realized that, yes, I'm creative, but it's not bringing in enough profit. And how did you handle that? How did you move that?
I think for me, this is a daily struggle. And I say that because I provide services to other creatives, so fashion brands. Sometimes I want things that are super creative for them, but it's going to require funds. They're going to have to pay for a service, and I'm going to have to pitch the value of the service to them. On the other hand, because of how hard it is to be a fashion brand in Nigeria, it's hard almost everywhere in the world, but it's really hard in Nigeria. We don't always have these funds. So I have to ask myself, you see the vision in this brand? But I don't take on clients that, I can't take on clients just for money. I lose interest very fast. And I always want to deliver value. For me, value is impact. So if I can't really see the long-term gain my value is going to give to your brand, I probably won't take you on as a client. So I'm already kind of like tied into you as my client. And then we can have this conversation and we have this amazing idea. Okay, great. And we talk about the budgets. And it's like, I don't think I can do, let's just put an arbitrary number like 200,000 for this shoot or 150,000 for this video production or something like that. And then I have to sit and ask myself like, maybe like 1,001 possible paths here. Could I do this job at a lower scale for this brand and still get the same value for them? And when I say value for them, I mean, if I'm doing this service for this brand, are they going to be able to reach their target audience and communicate the right thing if I do it at a lower scale? Or are we going to lose the message? Or I can ask myself, well, we could do this in a lower scale, but the budget they're talking about still doesn't really make that much sense. Are you willing to do this and just, write it up as kind of a loss and look forward to making the money on the next project? So the 1,001 days I need to think about for almost every project because I'm dealing with other creatives. And that's why I say it's an everyday struggle. I have to make those decisions separately. Today I might say, you know what, this brand has a long way to go and I feel honored and I feel excited to be part of their journey. Sometimes it's like, well, you might have a long way to go, but I don't think this is the part of your story I come in. So, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. Just going back to me, I want to ask another question, which is the question of how to balance the artistic integrity and the market demands. I think another problem that creatives sometimes deal with is, I have these ideas, I want to create this design, I want to make this thing, but it's not necessarily what the market is request for. So for example, in the fashion industry in the last 1-2 years, there's been a higher demand for a particular kind of outfit. So we've seen a lot of fashion brands lead towards making bubbles and loungewears. But for a creative business where that you need to hit your numbers and make profit, and to do that you need the market. But at the same time, you have these creative ideas. There's a style of footwear you want to make. There's a style of furniture you want to make. But it's not necessarily what the market is demanding. Where does that balance come in? I'm asking because I know that you do a lot of work with furniture and it's very personal. So how do you manage that market demand, or how do you create a demand for your market?
Well, as
Or you can you share what has worked?
yeah. No worries. I'll try and see. So basically, there's something I strongly believe in is what do you have in your hands, and it's all about going back to our culture. I'm a Yoruba person, and I always go back to culture to find originality, to find innovation from my culture. As backward as it may seem sometimes, but there's a lot of innovation from there, which you can evolve and progress in it and all that. I believe that once you create something original, like you talked about the bubbles and all that, there's something that connects to us because it's going back to our culture. It's comfortable. It's you can just wear it. You can style it in different ways. It's very stylish as well. And one thing which I also did was created a language, like I mentioned, which is Afrocentric minimalism. And I believe like our culture is all about minimalism, the simplicity of everything they were doing. It creates that interest in customers, in people's hearts and things like that. So let me give an example. I designed a jewelry collection for a jewelry designer in Kenya. Her name is Deji, and I used the Afro Minima ethos to design this collection, and it was launched in Paris, and it did really well. I called it Ami. Ami is the word for Yoruba word for symbol. So I always go back to my culture, to my language, and for me that always creates something original. It's always original, no matter how much I try not to make it original. It's always original. So I believe like creativity, anything I try to create must be very original, very unique. I know that unique is very stereotype, but it's actually the most important thing. Whatever you're trying to do, it has to be unique, has to be keep it simple. Use what you have in your hands. Like I said. So how the story of the Raw Urban collection, which I designed. So my mom had this really old stick which she kept using, and it just looked run down. And I just said to her like, I need to do something. I need to help you redesign this Omorubu stick, and that's what I did. And it sparked a collection and things like that. So always our identity is very important. We can't always try to be like Europeans and the Americans and all that. We have to have our own sort of language, our own sort of identity in creativity. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Deji, do you want to add anything to that? Maybe from a business angle?
Like whether we should opt on trends or whether we should keep it.
Yes.
Well, then again, my situation is different because a lot of what I produce is also based on clients' input. But I think it's important to try and set things apart at every opportunity because in my case, one of the first conversations I have with clients is like, who is your target audience? What is your vision? What is your goal for this production? Most times the message is going to be different. I might take inspirations from things I've seen in the past, but you never want a situation where it's an exact duplicate because the fashion industry can be very unforgiving. And once somebody sees like one thing, they can use it to write off a lot of other things that you might have spent a lot of time and creativity putting together. And so when I have conversations with my clients, I'm like, okay, yes, for the mood board, this seems exciting. For the reference video, this seems exciting. Can we tweak it here? Can we tweak it here? And also, I'm also being guided by the earlier conversations we've had about what kind of message they are trying to have come across.
So let me just chip in a few things. I'll talk based on my own experience as well. Sincerely, I don't think there's one straight way to dealing this. And so your artistic integrity is really important. But you also need to consider and ask yourself this question. What do you really want? As a brand and as a business, what do you really want? Do you want to be that great artist that in years to come, people will continue to buy your work even after you're gone, or your designs will be patented and people will continue to pay for that patent, years to come? Or you want to be that artist that wants to look at numbers, take advantage of numbers, and build as much as possible? I think the first thing is definition. Who are you, and who do you want to be, and what kind of business model do you want to build? And it's really hard for you as an artist, especially when your business is, sort of boutique business. Boutique business means you want to cater for a specific niche, and that's what you want to do. It could be hard, especially when your clients want something, maybe something they've seen somewhere, or might not resonate with you, might not be who you are and what you want to do. So there's always that conflict. And I like, how you put it. So you need to really ask yourself, what other value do I get from this? If I compromise my own artistic integrity, is there value that will come to me that is actually worth it for me to take that risk? But you also need to know that bills have to be. As possible, try to evolve as much as possible. So you go up the alternative of, like what it does. I mean, his work is sort of exclusive. You create ideas out of fresh ideas, and then you own the line of those ideas. But then the question sometimes is how many people want to buy into that idea. Now, if you're running in that business and that's how you run, and you're not careful enough to have a huge audience that love what you do, you might find it hard and you might be discouraged. So in cases like that, why not create a diffusion line if that will work for you? And your diffusion line could be what everybody needs. You understand? Be the 3M of your, of your industry. People might not know 3M, but it's an American company that does literally everything you can ever think of in life. From your stick notes to your screw, to your nuts, to your bolts. They do like literally, I think they will have patents on almost 800 products around the world. You understand? And they keep doing this thing and then they keep churning it. So you could be that 3M that wants to do what the market needs and make your money and take advantage of the almost 250 million people in Nigeria and make 2 naira on 250 million people a day and be the next Dangote or whatever you want to be. Or you can also be that person who says, I'll create a diffusion line, but I'll still have this line that caters for my art. People that want what I want. And another thing he said and I like is build an identity. The truth is, over time when you build an identity for yourself, or you build a brand value, and your brand proposition is clear, people will not come to you for what, they rather come to you for what they know you can do and what they love you do. You understand? So when you create that, it makes it easy for people to say, you know what, when you want this kind of service, this is the person to go to. And, mine might be a bit different because I do more service, but in the leather industry, it's a lot of times more about product, that people want to see. And when you're doing product, you need to also be very careful. So what are those products? Don't just follow trends. Trends are fantastic. But then when you follow trends, how about when the trend changes? What happens to you? So find that niche for yourself. If you have to create a diffusion line to make sure you have a cash cow, do that. Have your cash cow, run your business. But I don't think you should totally don't even say, I don't think. Do not compromise on that and integrity.
Yeah.
Create something else, but don't compromise on it because that's who you are. Because over time, when you think of every other thing, longevity becomes very important. Constance becomes very important. People will start buying you. I say to people, a lot of things you want to buy in other countries, in the Western world, that you think are more valuable than what you have in Nigeria. The reality is you're only buying the brand name. The things we do locally fits those qualities, hands down in most cases. But it gets to a point that people are not buying a product. People are buying the brand. You just need to understand that. Thank you.
Amazing. I think that you really touched on something that I wanted us to actually touch on, which is the diffusion line. So I think that sometimes the problem or the struggle as creative people is we think that there is one way and one thing, that we have to do. But you have to remember that you're running a business. And, while you have a creative talent, you need your numbers, you need to make sale so that you can create more. So sometimes it's fine to think of, can I create an efficient line? What products can I create that are simple, basic, easy, and they become your cash cow? And, they fund your creativity. And in the process, you're building your identity. So what that does is it gives you time to build your identity, to build your creativity, and, your business takes off from there. So I just want us to piggyback a little bit. We've spoken about organization and how one person cannot build an organization. So there are different parts of the entrepreneur journey and running a business. There's operations, there's finances, there's all of this. As a creative person and as somebody who is building a business, how do you create that balance? So what happens sometimes is, people lean towards the creativity and they're building the brand. And sometimes you realize that, it's not working. Then you start to focus on all the business elements, but then you start to have a creative block. But then you can't afford to employ, all of these people to do all of these things for you. What's the balance? What has worked for you? And I'd love Mr. Kola and Bumi and Deji, everyone just, share what has worked for you.
Okay, thank you. Sincerely, it's a journey. Trust me, it's a journey. And I think we get this illusion sometimes that, you kickstart it now, you're there now. I think the social media doesn't help as well. I mean, we're so confused with what we see on social media. We think that's the real life. In real life, things are a bit different. We've been doing this. I've been doing this full time. The company itself is about 17 years this year. I've been doing this about 19 years full time. And I'm still learning. That's the reality. And that's why I say it's a journey. When you start out, you're chief everything officer, especially when you don't have funding from anywhere, people like us that we're not watching to have, support systems that could actually give us the cash to start out. And you start with what you've earned working somewhere, and then you invest in your idea, and then you start buying from one light to one lens to one strap and then you start building it. It could be daunting, tasking, and sometimes it's not easy. It's not even sometimes, it's actually not easy. Especially in a place like Nigeria where the government does not understand the creative industry. Not because they don't like the creative industry, not because they don't want to work with the creative industry, but they don't understand the industry. And because the industry itself has not positioned itself in such a way that the government has enough information to work with, data is missing. Not that data is not available. It's available. It's not collated in such a way that it's easily accessible. It makes it difficult for government. So it makes it hard for us to get incentives that might actually help us, to grow our business. But you need to see that the life of an entrepreneur is a journey, and it is not a destination. It's a journey, and it's not just one destination. You get to this point that, people love your work so much that they don't even care if you have a business structure or not. They just want to pay you to get it. And then over time, you start realizing that it's not sustainable, especially when you have multiple projects that you're doing and you're opening up your mind to want to learn and to want to service all of them. And then that's the point you start, investing. The biggest challenge in Nigeria is that everybody starts out a career, especially entrepreneurs in the creative space. You start out a career, your first year you're making 500,000 naira per annum. The next year you're doing 2 million. And then you regress back to realizing that there are so many other problems you have to solve. So people get distracted. So you now realize that the house you're living in is too far from where you're working. And then the next thing you want to get a new place. And then you now think that your factory needs to be bigger. And then a lot of times you think of what we're getting, forgetting that for the money you're making, at that point when you start, and you are the chief everything officer, you should be splitting money between all the roles. And if you start paying all that roles, you realize that you're actually not making money. But then because that money comes into one place in our pockets, we think we're fine. And then when you now add more problem, instead of dealing with the problem that should grow your business, when you start adding more problem, by realizing that you need to have a new car, even though the car might be essential, but I don't know what has happened to the bus and the transport system. Then you have a new car. You forget that your mechanic does not want your car to work because he has to make money. And then you forget that they will remove subsidy one day and it will affect you. You know, by the time people start mounting all those things, it becomes pressure and it takes away their investment that should go into other areas of building the business. And the reality is this, another part you understand, the moment you start making money, start hiring those people. Work with intent, work with other. You don't have to hire the guy that give you that, you know, magic at once. Hire people that you think can do that role. If you have to train, I mean, you definitely have to train because only you own, especially as an entrepreneur, only you own the vision for the brand. So people need to buy into that vision. So you need to continue to train them. And then as you train them, you can actually expand gradually. You cannot expand at once. And that's another mistake we make. Everybody is doing this. We want to do this. So I think see it as a journey. Expand gradually. Identify each of those places. So a lot of times you need to, you know, we don't do it here. You just start with the idea. You're a creative and you start. See, write out your whole business plan. Write every staff you think your business will need. Create a scale of preference. Which of the staffs you will need at this stage of your business? How much ability will this staff needs to be paid? Is my brand and business able to start paying these staffs now? If yes, hire. The reality is when you hire that staff, it gives you time to focus on other things and then you can grow. But when you think, no, I want to make all the money, it will be so much problem. You get burnt out. When you get burnt out, you start disappointing clients. When you disappoint clients, you're going nowhere. So it has to be in places. All those things are important. And if I might say, if you're ever an entrepreneur, whatever stage you get to in life, don't see yourself as a creative. Study business. If you can't, go to a business school. If you can't go to a business school, there are short business courses. Do those courses. Don't just sit down and be creative. It's important. Your financial officer, your communications officer, your administrative, all those things are important. You can't get it once, but you can actually continue to grow and build that around yourself and build a team. You can go nowhere without a team. I say this. We're lucky we're documenting this project. We've been documenting this project for a while. I can sit down here and I'm not the guy shooting there because I've got a team around me. I've got someone doing that. There are people back in the office who are taking care of the administrative, every other thing. There's a retoucher that is taking care of images so that it gets, you know, online in almost real time. There are photographers everywhere here that are documenting. There are guys doing the videos. So we have these people that are, it's not just me. And you need to understand that. You have to build it. You have to invest in it. Don't be an entrepreneur that makes 1 million and wants to reach 1 million and show everybody in your village that you have arrived. You have not. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. But would you want to add anything?
And how can I top that? But
Okay, maybe you can come from the angle of collaboration. Does collaboration come anywhere?
I mean, one thing that he said that really stuck is the journey. You understand? You know, one thing I know about business is you have to have that big dream. You understand? You have to have that really big dream. Make it as big as possible, and then you start small. You know, you start small. You start to grow. You know, you start to evolve. You know, one thing is that the creativity, the business of creativity, not everybody understands it. You know, when you want to write a business plan on creativity, sometimes you take it to like an investor or a bank and they look at it and they can't even understand it. You understand? So I think we need to know that we're on a different realm as a creative. You know, there's a lot of power in creativity and we need to own that power. You understand? And I call it your wonder. You know, everyone has something unique about them. You know, I call it your wonder, and you use that wonder to, you know, to create things. You know, you understand. But you know, like he said, the business part of it is very important. Luckily, I went to a business school, so I was able to understand certain things. But still, the real world is also different. You know, you could learn you could go to the best business school, Harvard Business School, whatever it is, and then you get into the real world and you just see sharks everywhere. You'll be sending your business ideas and they'll just fling it to one corner, you know. But I think is one important thing is when you're starting a business, you know, just believe in your business. If you have like 2 customers, just keep at it. Perseverance is also very important. A lot of people want to blow, quote unquote, you know, in a year. They want to buy a new house. You know, pace yourself. You know when they say in this, they say that them they rush us. Like take your time, build your brand, build your business. Don't look at the next person. Don't look at the right person. You know, just take your time. By the time you just realize that you've come to this. You know, I've been running my creative business for over 10 years now, and I know that there's still a lot I need to do, and I'm pacing myself. Sometimes I just leave the whole thing. I'm like, I'm not even interested. You know, I need to think about other things. You know, when you think about other things, like, you know, you take walks and you read and all those other things, you just realize that new ideas come to your mind. Now you talked about collaborations. Collaborations is also very important. You know, you meet a fellow creative and maybe that person is slightly higher than you. And then when you now collaborate, you know, it helps. It's kind of like, you know, so there was a time I did a thing with Amarula, and they selected creatives from North Africa, South Africa, West Africa, and East Africa. And I was the one selected from West Africa, you know, and they selected me because of Afro-Minima, you understand, because of that design language that I created, you know. So they told me to design a bottle, you understand, and this bottle was sold in South Africa in the airports and things like that, you know. So the thing about creativity is you just need to, it's something I'm still trying to understand. It has this very strong benefits, you understand. There are those wow moments that you create something that then it's just amazing, people love it, and then there's a certain time that everything is just like dead, you understand. So it's all a process, you know. You grow, you learn, you evolve, you understand, and yeah, that's
Okay. Did you want to add anything?
So I think that as creative, something that we often overlook is community. I think that I'll speak for myself, so I can immunize it for everyone. I've had almost a decade's worth of experience in the Nigerian fashion industry, but most of my growth has come within the past 2 years. And I think that aside having a clearer vision, faith, and patience, I think community has played a big role. When you surround yourself, it doesn't have to be people that are doing exactly what you are doing. So, like, you know, maybe for some reason you're afraid of competitors. Trust me, that really doesn't hold water. But people that understand what you are doing, because especially when you're younger, your parents might not support you because they are coming from a place of concern. They are more afraid that, you know, what if this doesn't work out? Sometimes your friends might not understand your vision. So even when they do support you, it's like, and it's not coming from a superficial place, but it kind of comes from a superficial place because it's like, I'm your friend. It's kind of like my job to tell you that you can do it. But when you go out there, you put yourself out there. If you're a photographer, go to art galleries. If you are an artist, go to a workshop or interior design space. If you just create a community of people that may not necessarily be doing the same thing as you, or when you have an idea, you can rub minds with them. I say, hey, look, I'm trying to do this thing, and you know, what are your thoughts? Like, I haven't made a final decision. You will find out that they will give you the context, that they will give you things that you could have never thought about. And I can bear testament to that. Like, I a few weeks ago, I had asked Rhoda about something I was looking at doing, and she gave me the right jolt of encouragement. Like, you know what, don't play small, dream big, do this thing. The worst thing that could happen will happen, but you will learn from it. And I went ahead and I did it, and it was successful. It was maybe it wasn't exactly what I thought it would be, but it was exactly what I needed it to be at the end of the day. So when you look around, do not look at competition. They might be doing the same thing as you, but trust me, you are you. Your brand is your brand. Form a community. You will go much further doing that than just trying to like keep yourself in a silo, trying to figure it out.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think everyone has shared really great points. And just to sort of round that up, I'll say another thing is to pay attention to the things that you can digitalize. I think another thing is sometimes we try to do everything ourselves, and it's not every time you need another human being to do something for you. So in your business, you need to ask yourself, like, what are the things that I can digitalize? My invoice, my books, my operations. All of these things are things that just makes it easy for you to run your business and also be creative. So as we start to round up, I just want us to speak about scaling. And I think that this is another major challenge with creative businesses. The start is always great. Everybody's excited about the start. The first few years are great. But when it comes to scaling, I don't think we see a lot of businesses scale, or a lot of creative businesses scale. And I mean, everybody here I was here in decade, I was here in 18 years, 10 years, 12 years. So it means that, there's a level of scalability that, everyone has achieved to an extent. So what has worked for you? What were the challenges you encountered while scaling? And what has worked for you when it comes to scaling? So we can start with the second line.
I think scaling is always the death of most creative business in Nigeria. Which is why...
Sorry, to add to that, even in the creative industry, what does scaling mean?
Okay, so let me put it in a layman's language. Scaling is moving from phase 1 to phase 2 as you journey on in your business. Scaling doesn't necessarily mean where you move from there to where you want to be. It's about moving from there to the next place you need to be to get you to that place you want to be. Okay. So, and it's always tricky, because the thing about the creative industry is most times it's always a one person's idea. And then you want to expand. You want to service more brands, more businesses. And then there's crisis. Some of those crises is inability to deliver, drop in quality of delivery, drop in service delivery, drop in client and customer relations, and all of that. And I think the key thing to scaling is understanding where you want to go and not being sentimental about business. The idea is yours, but the vision is huge. You need to understand that the vision is huge. What that means is, for those who believe in the spirituality part of the journey, God gives us ideas, doesn't mean He wants us to implement all of the ideas. He told Abraham, I'll make you father of nations. He didn't tell Abraham, you are the only person that will become the father, and then you have 1,000 kids. But He gave him a vision of, I'll make you father of nations. And what that means is you need people. But in the course of you saying you need people, you need to also take away the sentiment. I think in Africa, we're all sentimental about our ideas. We think it's the most pristine thing, it's the best thing that has happened to humanity, and then we hold on to the idea. So you see why people go around to even pitch to investors. They tell the investors, I'll give you 2% of my business equity for $2 million of your money. They'll be like, wow. And then they start asking, so how far have you gone with this? How much sales? How much? And then when it comes to numbers, people are confused. Oh, I see that if you give me the 1 million, I can, target the 150 million or 200 million people in Nigeria, and then I can make this. Then they ask questions like, so how many people do you service now? Oh, I service a lot. How many? 50. Wow. From 50 to 1 million. And they're like, wow. And so that's always the problem. So not understanding the importance of that, based on what we've said before, scaling itself takes a whole journey. So first is the understanding of your business, like we said. Second is taking advantage of collaboration when you start out. It could be vertical, it could be horizontal collaboration. Depends on how it works for you. Third is now bringing in those people into your business. Fourth is removing the self, remove sentiments. If you want to actually succeed, look at a public liability company and understand what it's all about. It's plenty people owning one thing, not one person owning everything. So if you begin to understand all of those things, it becomes easier. Because at that stage, you start seeing that every of those other things we've discussed becomes important. How do you apply technology to grow business? So when you're growing, think growth within the business, growth outside of the business. How do people start perceiving you as you scale? Do they still see your business as your business or as business or as the business? So what it means is this. Do they see it as Kola Oshalusi photography, or they see it as Kola Oshalusi photography in a bigger scale? Take away the Kola Oshalusi from it, put in the business spirit into it. So which means that the value you're creating should not be, even though the Kola Oshalusi brand or whatever brand you are is important because that's what people start buying into, but every area of business must start coming into it. So your customer service delivery, even when you can't do it, you want to use AI to, start attending to, you want to use chatbots, you want to use all those things. All those things have to start coming in as you scale. And it will be a journey. It won't be once, or it will be a journey. Whatever you think you need help, don't be scared of asking. Get a mentor. I tell you, follow people who are big speaker that you. Those like everybody around you, people who need your mother. Find people who are able to need to do the next 5 years, 10 years. And then it from there, you let it from there and it's and then it's in easy. Thank you. We do that later with that.
Sure. I mean, I think first of all, one of the issues that I have in Nigeria is the small business. A lot of people are, you always hear small business, and it sort of made impacts in our mind whereby we always have a small business. You understand? So you can run a business for like 20 years and it's small business. You understand? And I think that is the problem. And what like I mentioned before, you have to, whatever you're doing, you're trying to do, you must have a big picture about it. And like I mentioned, think as big as possible. In fact, you must think so big that you yourself will be like, this is too much. You understand? You need to think really, really big, and then what I mean by thinking big is whatever business you're doing, even the service, even the product, you can look out for other types of businesses that do that. So I'll give an example of my own. So the Japanese brand called Muji, and Muji is a brand that they sell everyday objects and everyday products. So they sell in for kitchen, for bedroom, fashion, utility, all these kind of things. And they have stores all over the world, And for some reason, I was like, why you don't have anything like that in Africa? We don't have an African brand that is just all over the world. We have a Japanese brand, they have a European, and a lot of that kind of stuff. So I was like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. You understand? And that's how I started up. And as crazy as it may sound, I started selling my product outside the country. In fact, I was selling my product outside the country before I started selling it inside Nigeria. You understand? I was very bold and I was thinking really big. But I realized that, there was a problem there. I had to go back to some drawing board. You understand? Because I wasn't actually ready to say. So let me give you an example of something that happened to me. There was an order from America, a brand called Haastrup, and they ordered products. It was quite a lot of products, and I shipped it. It's a particular shipping brand, and when it arrived in America, everything was destroyed. Everything that was set, all my wooden products were all destroyed. You understand? But I had to learn from that because I realized that they weren't packaged well. You understand? I left that. I thought the company was going to package. They said they were going to package it well and all that, but apparently they didn't package it well. So when he arrived in America, it felt interest to me and everything got destroyed. So I had to redo the order and I had to package them and all that. So, like he said, you need to, you learn and you grow, you evolve. The idea of scaling is always see the big picture, but grow into that picture. And if you see yourself stagnant, it means you're not thinking deep. You're not seeing that clear vision. When you see the vision,
there's a saying that
success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So if you want to be successful, you need to see yourself as that. So if you want to be a teacher, for example, and you find yourself teaching, then here is success. You understand? It's not until you make money, you understand, the money will come. You understand? But if your focus is, I want to make money, you will not make any money. So if you, whatever it is that you're trying to do, think big, start small, be bold, persevere, you understand, learn from your mistakes. Like he said, community is very, very important. You understand? And that community is actually, if you think about brands like Apple, people think of all this, Silicon Valley and all these things, it's all about community. In fact, Silicon Valley is a community, you understand? So communities are very strong, So yeah, in terms of scaling, try to remove small business. Don't start a small business. If you want to start a small business, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with starting a small business. You understand? Maybe you just want a side gig. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to do business, you think big. You want to make an impact. You understand? And that's why I said it's a thing of purpose now. It's not just trying to make money. You want to make an impact in your country, your community, things like that. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Deji, do you want to add anything to that?
So yeah, scaling, really exciting word. Building your team, taking your business to the next level. Back in the day when I was just starting out in the fashion industry, one of the things I was tasked to do was hiring for fashion brands. So they would send us requests that we would try and get the best person for them. Sometimes it would work out, success story. Sometimes it wouldn't work out. And something I've learned over time is, yes, you want to build your brand, but are you building yourself? You are kind of be the same person you were when you were having 2 people, when you are having 20 people. I mean, if that flies over anybody's head, I'll give you a very basic example. You can't be the same person when you were a boyfriend, when you're a father, when you're a husband. It's different stages of life, different requirements, different expectations. So you kind of want to look at that. I find in my experience, I don't know, maybe it's just a small sample size, that some fashion entrepreneurs, they kind of, like, once they get to the top and they build their brand to a certain extent, it kind of stalls as far as getting more information on how to be a better leader. Anything that goes wrong from there is more, it has to do with, oh, the employee is not the best, or this one or that one. It cannot always be external. You have to consider that some of these faults are a reflection of your leadership style. Sometimes it may not be, but it's better you try and do the best thing from your end before you push the blame onto something else. The worst case scenario is you become a better leader and that problem is still there, but you're still better off. So yeah, I think that's something people often miss when they're talking about scaling.
So let me just, just to add something alongside what I said earlier, because I work more in the service delivery industry, it might not become applicable to some of us who are more in the product industry. Another important thing, another part of scaling is also knowing what your strength is and focusing on that strength and possibly outsourcing your weakness to those who have the strength. And that brings to fore what you said about collaboration, what you said about community and all of that. So one of the things I find out in Nigeria is that we all start out as that entrepreneur that can make that design very well. We can produce 20, and then when the demand gets to 50, we still want to control the production of 50. And a lot of times you can't. And that's where the dilemma and the conflict of scaling comes in. Find the person that can produce 50, and what they want to focus is on producing the best 50. And then work with them, either on the partnership scale or on the direct outsourcing scale. Find those people and let them deal with that. You talked about using technology. You might even decide to outsource your HR. There was a time we outsourced our HR totally. We just tell them this is what we want, these are the qualities and all that. We only come in at the final stage of interview. And then we say, okay, this person is a good candidate, this person is not a candidate. It will also be in your financial management. Outsource it. You might not want to hire an in-house auditor. I mean, who hires an in-house auditor? You understand? And we have, at the end of the year, we have an auditor come in and then looks through our books and deals with the accountant and then we provide all the record, and it tells us this is where you're failing, this is where things are wrong, and then we're able to adjust. So let's look at that from that vertical and horizontal collaboration and use that, to scale. Find the person that can do that thing best within your industry. Just make it easier yourself. Oversee the production and make sure it meets up to your standard. But then don't burden yourself with. There's a lot of things you can outsource, and then it makes it easy to go.
Thank you. Thanks. This conversation has been so awesome. I think we've touched on so many important things. One is have a purpose, have a vision, know where you're going to. You can start small, but have an idea of where you're going to. Be intentional about your processes. You don't have to do everything yourself. The things that you can outsource, please outsource. Connect with communities. And I think, every day there are new communities springing forth in design, in fashion, new communities and new things coming up. So, there's says so much. And to round up, I'm going to give everyone about 30 seconds, 5 seconds to just say last words or anything. So start.
Okay. So just to to round up, which can help you guys is intellectual property. In every design, creativity, business, there's that aspect of intellectual property, and it's always nice to have a lawyer. Always nice to just to legally protect your creativity. I call it protecting your wonder. Basically. So for example, I trademarked the word Afro Minima. You understand? And when I trademarked it, I was quite pleased with that. So it's mine. It's my intellectual property. No one can use it. If anyone uses it, then you sue. So that's the power we have as creatives. But we need to just think a bit more. Like business people, we can't always be thinking, no, my creativity is just to draw and all that. No, you have to start thinking in a business kind of, and that's where intellectual property is always very important. Registering your design, there's so many different ways you can register like your design, your creativity, patents, trademarks, copyrights, and things like that. So yeah.
Okay, it's a kind of last words.
I'll say be consistent, be the best within your space, be the absolute best within your space. When you have to scale, don't be too shy to ask for help. Outsource what you need to outsource, focus on what your strength is, and continue to grow.
Thank you, Deji.
So just 3 words real quick. And I think it's a good compass for success: vision, faith, and patience. Vision, no matter how big or small it is, just know exactly what you want, almost down to a T, because that's going to determine a lot of things that you're going to do. Faith, you were given the idea, you were given the business idea, you were given the service idea, whatever it is. Have the faith that you have everything within your surroundings to get it done. And patience, like I said, I've been in the industry for almost 10 years, but it's just literally the last 2 years that most of my breakthroughs have happened. So you need to have the patience and understand that even if the person you started with is doing much better than you at this point in time, your turn is coming up very soon. Just stick to it.
Thank you. Thank you. I think with that, we've come to the end of this conversation. I don't know if we're allowed to see questions. Okay. Does anyone have any question?
One or two questions. Okay.
Hello, I have Dorcas. I'm a my student. My question, and also study Deji. You talked about us going for something and I to investors, and then we not being able to tell them how many people have how we're going to reach our audience. So my question is, what the platform would you recommend us to be able to track and keep data of the amount of people we're able to reach with our product or what we're trying to sell to the market? Because a lot of us, a lot of Nigerians, a lot of young people, Midwest people, they don't really know these platforms that we can use to track and keep record of our business, when we start from scratch and all that. And then to you, Mr. Deji. So, because I know you are a manager through events, we are the line with your master and this. So my question is, what management tool and you recommend for, all small business owners, like startup, that trying to start up? Yeah, all the questions.
Thank you very much. So quickly, there's so many tools available at the moment. First is what we identify what that will guide you to work streams to use and how you apply data. I mean, from the crudest points, data is always available. The question is, how do you utilize those data? You meet someone, you get their phone number. What do you do with the phone number? Does it become your contact or it becomes your network? Contact is there on your phone. Network is you relate with them. You understand? So that when next you call, they don't say, hey, who do you say you are again? Another is we take for granted the power of the most basic things that are available. One of them is your social media. There's so many tools within the social media that can actually help you transform your business. When you put up a post, what region, what age, what demography of people utilize that? A lot of us don't see that. We just like the like and the hormones it throws into our system and the elation we get. We don't see and track and say, okay, which products do they like? Is there a pattern to how they like? Why they like? How do I use and analyze that data? I take a cue from this fantastic young man, Easy, and Mr. Easy, that was called. And when he was talking about his journey and how he decided to, define where, and he had the strategy to sell his show in London. And it was so interesting for me, so how he used where his biggest audience are to actually sell his ticket without even being able to afford a venue. And to me, that's the power of how you can actually apply data. And then almost every tool that is readily available, free and slightly paid for are there. There's so much in your basic Google suite. People just use the email, but there's so much within it. The Zoho, that is even a bit cheaper, there's so much within that system that you can use. Even your MailChimp, there's so much they have. You can send emails, you can track emails, you can track their responses. So I think it's just for you to identify your industry and then identify the software that you think might work for your industry and then use it to aggregate data and use that data to your own advantage.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks.
Lucas, thank you very much for the question. You asked if there was a management tool I use. I think the platform I use the most is Notion, but I don't want to see that as the answer for everything. Just like Mr. Kola had mentioned, a lot of the time, it's really just down to what you're trying to do and a Google search. But I think when it comes to these things and trying to execute something, you have to understand two things, like what are you trying to achieve and who can you leverage to help you. Anything that you see going on that maybe they've attached my name to, I'm not going to take full credit for that because I'm nothing without the team that I have the fortune of working with. So I might be doing something, I might be playing my part and be, they might say, oh, Deji is the show producer, but without the stylist, without the makeup artist, without the hairstylist, there really isn't any show. I couldn't do any of those things, no matter how hard I tried. So those are some things you want to consider before you even go as far as looking for a tool.
Okay, thank you. So I think there are many questions. We can maybe make them one-on-one to ask them.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Please, a round of applause for our fantastic panel.